Well, forget partisan politics for a moment and check out this new poll. Nearly half of America's registered voters now say if they had to choose, they would take any Republican nominee at this point over President Biden to lead our country. Pretty harsh numbers to think about as the president heads to India tonight for this year's G20 Summit, where he hopes to rally allies and prove that he's up for the Oval once again in 2024. ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers joining me now alongside political director Rick Klein. So, Rick, what do you make of these poll numbers? What do they signal to you? Well, on one level, the White House and the Biden campaign tell you they don't have to run against any Republican. They have to run against one Republican, and the campaign has barely begun. But so much of this is wrapped up in concerns that voters have over his age and also his job performance. 58% of Americans in this new poll from CNN saying that they think that Biden's policies have made the economy worse. That's up about 8 points since a year ago. That might be the most troubling aspect of the poll. Biden isn't going to get any younger. People are going to have the concerns they have. He can't really fake that or force that. But what he can do is assuage their doubts or try to assuage their doubts over his handling of the things that matter most to them. And that becomes a big gamble right now about where the economy is a little bit more than a year from now, as well as what the ultimate contrast is when they actually match up against one candidate. So, Karen, these polls, they show a lot of doubt among voters for the president right now. Is the administration responding at all?
Karen, the administration doesn't respond to every political poll that comes out, despite our questions about them and trying to get them to weigh in on this. But they say, when the questions come up about the president's age and Americans' concerns about that, the White House response is pretty typical. They'll say, just watch him out there on the campaign trail once that gets underway and more earnest for him in the coming months, and watch the schedule he keeps at the White House. Now, critics will say he actually keeps a pretty light schedule at the White House compared to his predecessors. Even some Democrats, allies, would say that it's not as robust as a presidency could be. The president, though, as you say, is set to leave tonight for the G20 Summit. They're packing a lot into the next couple of days, meetings, summit sessions, likely a dinner with world leaders. But that is something in the past that has actually become a headline, where this president has skipped out on some events at world summits like this because he's had a very long day, and the White House says he's got to prepare for what's to come the next day.
So, Rick, today Biden's campaign launched this new ad on a surprise visit to Ukraine back in February. Let's take a look at a part of it.
It was the first time in modern history.
Very significant moment on the world stage.
That an American president went into a war zone not controlled by the United States.
A nearly 40-hour journey in and out of Ukraine.
President Biden left Washington, D.C. at 4 a.m. on Sunday. He landed in eastern Poland and then took a 9.5-hour train to Kyiv.
He entered Ukraine under the cover of night. And in the morning, Joe Biden walked shoulder to shoulder with our allies in the war-torn streets, standing up for democracy.
Wow, it's very much a strong ad campaign, Rick, and there's a lot of major concerns, as we see now, among voters going into 2024. So what do you make of this ad, the timing, how it's being presented?
I think to look at this through a political lens, Kira, a couple of things this ad says to me. One, it shows him active and it shows him with stamina. There's Karen's point about watch me. Well, he talked about this overnight train trip and the courage that they're portraying around making that trip. Second is that this issue of Ukraine and Ukraine funding divides his rivals, divides the Republican Party. The president and the White House are very aware of it because of the funding battles on Capitol Hill, as well as the way that the field is developing. And the last thing is that if you looked at this Biden presidency, the moment where he started to get more unpopular than he was popular was a big moment around foreign policy, the pullout from Afghanistan 2 years ago. In a lot of ways, the White House and this president still making up ground from that fateful decision, and any victories on the foreign policy stage, the national security stage, are things that he very much wants to trumpet.
So, Karen, Biden will attend, as you know. We've been talking about the G20 Summit now, and then he's going to head to Vietnam. What can we expect from the trip?
Yeah, big focus for the president at the G20 Economic Summit is reforming and boosting the World Bank and other multilateral development banks. The United States has accused China of a coercive and unsustainable lending to developing countries. So they're going to go and make a point that the World Bank and those banks should be able to be a nice alternative for developing countries and help them with their projects on infrastructure and climate change mitigation. China's President Xi is not attending the G20 Summit for the first time time. The president will not have a chance to meet with him. And Mr. Biden said he was disappointed by that, but says he does expect to meet with him at some point soon. Kira, the White House has not said where or when that meeting will take place, but notable with Xi's absence there, the U.S. really trying to make a robust effort to boost the World Bank and those banks to be a significant counter to China on the world stage.
All right, we'll be tracking, of course. Karen, Rick, thanks, guys, so much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.